Welcome to Sold Out Podcast, episode number 4.
Episode 4, not 3.
Still some controversy over the total number.
Episode 4.
But you know what? I found out the origin of a pilot, by the way.
Did you?
You know what's a pilot? Because it's the first time it goes on air.
Oh, look at that. That's like a Jay-Z line. I like that.
It might have been Jay-Z. I don't know where I heard it. But anyway, here we are, episode 4. And we have another great guest. Our agent is killing it.
Yes, Agent is killing it. Really good guest. You guys have definitely seen him. We unveiling a guest now?
I mean, I'm going to title the episode, so you might as well.
Okay. Yeah, it's very true. Cespedes Family BBQ. We're going to have Jordan of the barbecue coming on here. And, you guys know them through baseball. They're one of the biggest Twitters out there. Started from scratch as 2 college kids and with an affiliation for UNS Cespedes, and now they're working for the Ringers. So we're going to have Jordan on to talk baseball and some other things.
They have almost 100,000 followers on Twitter, and I'm personally guaranteeing they'll get 100,000.
Yeah, they're at 99 and change right now. Like, they're so close.
Yeah. And speaking of Cespedes, so last episode we talked a lot about Hawaii, we talked about Cuba.
We did.
And now you're wearing an Islanders shirt.
We talked about the Islanders with Ben. I had to bring out the Islanders shirt. Once again, Evans Field, we're looking for a sponsor. So come on.
I'm dressed like I'm on an island.
Yes.
Because I have a new lifestyle.
Yes. Pink shirt. You can't see, he's got pink shorts on.
I got pink shorts, and they got a nice little trim.
Little trim. Yeah, that was weird, but yeah, but
wasn't coordinated.
So we're here. We're sticking with the vibe. Summer vibe. It's been beautiful weather. We got Cespedes barbecue on. We're talking about the Islanders. We're sticking with minor league baseball. So we're sticking with the vibe for now.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm totally fine with it. So, all right, I got a couple things I want to talk about.
Okay.
And I want to get into one right away.
I'm sure there's something you got.
So, here's what we've already talked about this.
Okay.
At length, but I feel we need to get some traction because we've already cracked the code. Maybe the Da Vinci Code. You'll see the tie-in a second.
Okay.
But we've cracked the code. I just think that more people need to subscribe to what we're already talking about.
Okay.
Church season tickets.
Oh man, this is a throwback. We haven't talked about this in years.
It hasn't. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Bad time to talk about it though, with COVID going on.
Well, no, it's a perfect time. That's my point. Is that so? If they were selling season tickets or memberships.
Oh, I know for the church. I'm saying people aren't going to be buying them right now. Is what I'm saying.
Well, it's the top. Yeah. Well, they should have been when we were saying it originally. And now look at them.
Could have rolled it over.
Exactly. They could have rolled it over. So the idea here is that I said, I'm like, why don't more people do what we do? They can basically collect the money in advance for something that hasn't happened yet, and you're guaranteed. So, like in a season ticket perspective, you're guaranteed a revenue whether they come or not.
Yeah.
When the church as a whole is dealing with attendance issues,
yep.
they're starting to. They can only get money right now whenever people come.
Sure.
Right? Unless you look at like sponsorships, which are some donors and stuff, or of course they do sponsorships. But if they did season tickets. And then think about it, you could upgrade with like the name on the back of the seat or seating location.
Front row, front pew is going to be big time.
Right.
Front pew on the aisle, think about what you can charge for that.
I mean, that's premium seating, obviously.
I'm imagining like some actual sponsorship at a church. How hilarious that'd be, like a banner, like an LED board.
I mean, there's people that do it. There's like, so you look at some of the mega churches or whatever, they have sponsors and some audio equipment's brought by whoever.
You need a wine trade deal?
Yeah, 100%. Like wine.com is all of a sudden providing everything. They already have ushers.
They do.
Right?
Yep.
So I mean, there's basically ticket takers in that case.
Mm-hmm.
You could use the confessional booths as obviously like a will call window, things like that. So there's so many similarities, and it makes so much sense for them financially to do that I can't believe more people aren't doing it.
Maybe this will spark them.
If there's any pastors, priests listening, which would be a shocker.
I don't think there are,
but maybe if you know one, you can send it to them and share this idea. We'd be happy to hop on a conference call with them and explain how this works.
They could really change. They could change the whole everything. Like that would just be like they'd be the guy. They'd be like, wait a minute, this church is selling season tickets, and you could do groups too. And if you have like an upper area, I know some churches have like that upper like balcony. You can do suites basically.
True, private hospitality with food service.
Yeah.
Because what about the guys
maybe
cutting
post
out?
mass.
Well, yeah. Because people cutting out early, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
But if you got to keep them until the offering, because they're not moving the offering.
Post-game fireworks, that's what you need to do. Get them to stick around.
Yeah. So please keep in mind, there'd be some people that are potentially offended by what we're talking about right now.
Yeah,
but we are truly intending for them to thrive from this model. Like that was where we came from, was because we talked about like who else could benefit. Because like an auto mechanic, if you had a subscription, you could get priority to get your stuff done whenever you need it. You don't have to worry about it. You get the money up front from the mechanic, whatever, right? So like we thought about all these different realms of areas, but like the church was the one that we landed on that we thought made the most sense.
It's an event-based thing, similar to what we do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If we offended you, sorry. One thing I wanted to bring up to you this week, I know last episode we talked about how you drive a Jeep Wrangler to show that you're a man because you don't know how else to do it.
Well, it's because I am one that I have it, but yeah.
Well, now that they came out with the Jeep Wrangler, but actually a practical, good car in the Ford Bronco, how do you feel about that?
It's not the same at all.
It came out with the exact Jeep, except it's nice inside and it's practical.
What you should be describing is a G-Wagon because or Land Rover.
No,
that's the British
dude,
version.
have you not seen this? It's literally a Jeep. Everything exactly the same as a Jeep, except the inside is nice. It's meant for off-roading and everything. It's like the Bronco Sport or something it's called.
Yeah, but there's a lot of car companies or whatever that claim that they're built for off-roading. Explain to me how many of them though were actually built for off-roading. What I mean is,
I know. The
U.S. government says, "Hey, we need a car that can go anywhere. It has to be in Siberia, has to be in the south of France, got to be and can do everything."
And they built the Subaru.
Built the Jeep. No, that's a Japanese company that was not even around. They built the Jeep, and that's what it is. So like, I don't want to hear about a Ford Bronco that can have the same capabilities. It just isn't happening.
Well, when I see you driving one next year, I'll remember this conversation.
Please, I'm glad it's documented because we can go back and I'll call you out on whatever I'm not.
Please do. I appreciate that.
Great.
All right, let's get back to baseball.
Sure.
One thing I wanted to bring up, if you guys haven't seen, news came out today. It looks like the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be playing in the Buffalo Bison AAA Stadium. Obviously, a member of the IL with us, and that's interesting. That's a wild thing. Obviously, there's a lot of issues with Canada. They don't want teams coming across the border to play, which I get it. We talked about earlier before we got on here. $750,000 fine. If you leave the hotel in Canada right now, it's just crazy. But yeah, so they're going to be playing. It looks like, at least they're talking about playing in Buffalo, which is also crazy. So, what do you think about that? I know there's some Ballpark Digest put out a great article. Like, there's going to be limitations. Like, baseball is now a TV show. It's not your traditional baseball. They might not have the ability to put up those cameras and stuff like that. But at the same time, you're tied to this affiliate, and you don't want to. You don't want to screw them over. So, like, what do you think about this?
Yeah, well, and this has happened. This is not the first time where it's like, oh, what do we do about our affiliate? Because then you look at like the White Sox, who opted not to be in Charlotte.
Yep.
And now they're using an independent team,
Which is crazy, right?
So
I can't believe that.
That's kind of a weird. And if you're Charlotte, are you glad that happened or not glad that happened? Because it's hard to monetize those things anyway. So if you're Buffalo, it's probably the same thing. So they might have a little more monetization. And people say it's a TV show, which it is, sure, and that's where the money's going to come from this year. But there's a lot of like player development people and like the actual staff and the families of those people, so that's tough. $750,000 is insane to find somebody for doing anything, especially when you see like what they're doing in the NBA already.
Dude, and they have to go in quarantine. Like, what's his name? The King Center. You see, he crossed the line to get his Postmates, and now he's not getting fined.
No. And they're handling like they should. Like now, because they knew their superstars were going to have. Like James Harden now tested positive.
Yep.
Russell Westbrook already tested. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen in baseball too. So it's like, how are you going to handle that stuff in baseball? Here they are taking a way too aggressive stance on what's happening. I get you got to be safe, but I think it's way too aggressive.
Was it baseball though, or was it more was it the team doing it? Or was it more because of Canada's being really strict?
Well, yeah. There's obviously another element because there's another country involved. So that's true. But what I was going to say was, did you see all the like tweets and posts and everything that came out from all these like random girls that were like, I guess the bubble doesn't really exist because I already heard
got invited to the bubble.
Somebody invited me in.
Yeah.
So you're like, to think that's not going to happen is insane because it will. So yeah, that's another huge issue they may have. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, for Buffalo, I'm just trying to think of like if we were in that situation, what would happen? Just like having the Phils actually play their games there. It would just be so different. And like honestly, I think what would happen is from a minor league perspective. I feel bad for those guys because they're just going to get like overtaken. Like that stadium is going to be like, this is now the Blue Jays stadium.
Yep.
I understand you guys normally come here, but we don't care. Like,
it could be
I need
difficult.
this office. I need. You know what it is? Like the British coming and taking over your home.
Wow.
That's pretty extreme. That's basically what's happening.
I mean, it could be interesting from, their front office, like they're trying to get prep for next year now, just as we are. Like, what's going to happen with that? Are they going to be able to be in the offices? Because we know the restrictions of, from our perspective, we have the taxi squad here, and we have Valley from the Phillies, and you're not allowed on the lower level. People aren't allowed to go down where the players are going to be and that kind of thing. So what about when you have a full team playing games, like in a state like that? That's crazy. Like, that's going to be. It's just something that you don't really anticipate seeing. I don't think a lot of people know, though, that Buffalo, 16,000 seat capacity, was built to hopefully become a major league team. Obviously, that didn't work out, but so they do have some capabilities. But it'll be interesting to see. And Ballpark Digest brought up the fact that obviously with the affiliate it's tough to do, but would they consider going to Nashville or Charlotte, one of these teams that maybe don't have a taxi squad but have more capabilities, a brand new ballpark? And that's tough because you don't want to, at the same time, while it's inconvenient, you don't want to say, we don't care about you, Buffalo.
Well, it's all, and it's easy for Ballpark Digest to just make up these things.
Oh, sure, and they just put it out there at the end. They weren't saying like anything crazy. But
well, what's funny is, if you were to look at us, I don't know what exactly the situation is in Nashville or Charlotte or whoever, but like with us, I mean, we already have a media deal. We have a media deal in place. Now, are you just saying that now we have to eliminate or do, like, that puts a major sponsorship at risk in our case, and it could be the same with them, and who knows what their other factors there are, and I can't imagine that's on the top of the list for the Blue Jays right now.
No.
They're not looking at that.
No.
So, that becomes very challenging, and that's probably why it's going to be Buffalo, because then they can at least reconcile with their own affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I mean, it's a tough ask, and that makes sense why they went to an indie team too in the White Sox case. But I don't know. It's there's so many things with this whole season, and that's what I was going to say too. Is that if you're a fan of the Yankees or if you're a fan of whoever, like, how is this season going to be remembered or perceived? And my personal opinion is it's going to depend on who wins, because if the Reds win, it's going to be like, oh, it didn't count, because they wouldn't have won in a regular long season. If the Yankees win, every Yankees fan is good. Of course we did. We would have won anyways.
Yep.
Like, no big deal. So I think this season is going to be strange because of that. And I've joked, I was a Pirates fan. I'm like, we actually have a shot. And I feel like a lot of people, I've talked to an Orioles fan that said we actually have a shot. Like, everyone actually does think they have a shot.
Yeah.
That begs the question, should the season always be shorter? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, it probably should. I don't think it should be this short, but
It should be shorter.
Yeah, probably 120 games.
No, it should be shorter than this season.
No. But I agree with you. I think even I think it's going to be the team that wins the World Series, they're going to say it was the year, and every other fan base is going to say, that was a stupid year. I think that,
But if it was the Pirates, is everyone in the country really going to deny them a World Series?
They're going to just be like, who cares? They're
never going to win again.
No one cares. That's the thing. No one cares about the Pirates. Outside of Pittsburgh.
That's my point.
Pittsburgh barely cares about the Pirates.
That's my point, is that I think everyone will just be like, all right, let them have that one. They'll never win again. It's fine. This is a season. Okay.
I think I'll personally just brush off, be like, I don't care. It's a short season, didn't matter.
But yet, if the
Phillies win the World Series,
then you're gonna be that guy.
Hell yeah. No, Bryce going on? Yeah, of course.
I think, you know what? We should make every fan declare in advance if they're going to recognize the World Series champion or not. And then if they weigh in and they say yes, I will, or not, okay, then you can have an opinion. But if you don't say it up front,
all right,
I don't want to hear it.
If that's the case, I'll declare. I'll say whoever wins, I'll recognize them as the normal champion.
All right, that's why.
Okay. One thing before we move on, I want to mention that no one talks about. How about the Blue Jays though? What are they going to do with all the in-stadium sponsors that are not going to be on TV now?
Yeah.
How about that? Like,
well, so what if that's a Coke facility and Buffalo's Pepsi?
Yep.
Or like there's a competitor that all of a sudden.
And I know a lot of
the answer is coming down.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of the teams were having the sponsors roll into like seating. They're going to lay out the ads on seats and stuff like that to try to fulfill all their contract. But like, you can't do that now. Like, that's so much money the Blue Jays might lose in addition to all the ticket revenue. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, no one is talking about that, but like, that could really crush a franchise.
So 100%. And so we have a mutual friend that works in sponsorship activation at the Yankees.
Yep.
And when I went up there and he was just showing me around the stadium, whatever, no one's there, and he's just pointing at like specific signs, and like the way they think is so much different than like we sell off-field wall signs and they're off-field wall signs.
Yep.
Like, this is what it is. And he's like, that one is, he's like, that's this amount, that's this amount, that's this amount. And they're all different amounts. And I'm like, well, why? And he's like, well, because on average, the camera is going to be on this one for this period of time, and this period of time, and this period of time.
That's insane.
And that's it. That's how they sell. Like, hey, you're going to be behind Aaron Judge, so it's worth X amount. And that's what they get, period. So, yeah, it's going to be a major problem for them. And it's not the Yankees, but to them, it's a lot of money.
It's something that is going to be really interesting to see how they handle it. I'll be interested to see what they do. So,
yeah. I feel bad for those front office guys. Can you imagine even, like, you can't even, and you're in Major League Baseball, you thought you just got a little bit of information after having none, and now every fan's calling, like, well, so what, you're not even playing here now? Like, I can't even watch?
Yeah.
Are they going to be blacked out?
Oh, my God, I don't even know.
Classic baseball. Here we are.
That's the thing. We talked about it before, and we want to talk about it with Jordan, obviously, but one thing that's crazy is, in addition to the regular blackouts, so today it's Tuesday, we're filming this, and the MLB app, MLB.com, is playing inter-squad scrimmages today, but they didn't announce it. They didn't tell anyone. So if you go on the app, you can see all the games are free to watch today, but like they did not tell anyone, which is the most baseball thing you could do. They finally did something right, and they didn't advertise it. Just put a tweet out there.
Yeah.
Just put a tweet out.
You don't gotta tell me. Listen, the NBA would do that to me.
No, they would be putting it all over the place.
Sure would. LeBron might personally call me and tell me there's going to be some footage.
I don't know about that, but
he might.
Do you know LeBron?
I'm just saying he might call me. I'm not saying I know him. I'm saying in this instance, that's how well run the NBA is. How about the names on the back?
Yeah, most of the guys are already come out saying they're not changing it, but
there's going to be a few of those guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
The days are kind of gone where you have those guys where like you never sure it's like the Rasheed Wallace that might just like punch a fan or do something stupid, and people flat out change their names like Meta World Peace, and that there's not really that many of those guys left.
No,
but there's going to be some guys that I hope actually that, and why wouldn't you, just for like the jersey sale, right?
So the NBA obviously wants this to be like a, whether it's Black Lives Matter or a cause you care about, that's the angle they're going. But I think what you're trying to say is, are people just going to throw nicknames on there? Like, 100%. He hate me.
Yes.
Maybe. There could be, like...
I hope so.
Maybe, like, I could easily see Nick Young just throwing out a Swaggy P jersey.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Didn't the NBA do that, though? Didn't they do that, like, last year?
Like a players' weekend?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think that. I don't think so.
But, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see. I think it's only, like, the first 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back to your normal jersey, but...
How much is it now they can wear their own stuff, too? On the way in, so like they could get sponsored dollars to like wear certain brands because they're not like stuck to whatever they're wearing now. The dress code's basically gone. They can wear casual stuff.
Yeah, I guess you kind of have to. I did see somebody, I can't remember who it was even, but put up a pic like, "Oh, this is a great fit," and they were like, "Where are you going?" Yeah. I'm going to the lobby. Like, it's so weird.
Which is like, I read that immediately as absolute sarcasm.
Yeah,
I'm going to the lobby. He said, "I'm going to the lobby to get a drink. I'm coming right back." And I'm like, "No, you aren't. Somebody's coming in."
Okay, so you think it's very conspiracy. See, I was thinking
I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think he's just saying it because like I have to say this publicly. I'm pretty sure he just got a girl in the lobby and brought her back up.
I guess we'll find out.
The tweets are already out. Like everybody knows.
I guess we'll find out.
And JJ Redick's out in the kiddie pool shotgunning beers.
I did not see that.
Oh yeah,
good for him. What a legend.
I can't believe that JJ Redick
is still in the NBA.
He made a legitimate NBA career.
Yeah,
he really did. And then when he was on the Sixers, I mean, I had to even root for him, which was tough.
And they all hate him anyway now, so.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I can't even believe that guy. Whatever happened to, who's the guy, Jimmer Fredette?
Jimmer's crushing it overseas. He is,
anytime that you're crushing it overseas.
No, dude.
It's like, you're, okay.
He came back, I'm pretty sure he came back like last year or 2 years ago and like had a good year. He's out there shooting somewhere. I know I heard him on Dan Patrick one time and he's back. He's killing it.
I guess.
Jimmer was great though in college. I definitely remember taking. Where did he go to school? I don't even remember.
Out west. Was it BYU maybe?
I don't know. I remember taking them pretty far in the tournament, and they did not go very far in the tournament.
Why? I say because I looked at those guys as the same, being like they're going to be great college players, and then they're just not going to make an NBA. And then here we are, still talking about JJ Redick. How much longer?
Yeah.
I don't even. How long has it been? Like over 10 years, probably. He's been in the NBA.
At least 10 years.
And Vince Carter has finally retired.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, very unfortunately. Vince Carter was. There was a stat where he's played against like 70% of the NBA or something like that.
Yeah, which is How is that even possible?
I don't think that's true.
I do love and I'm sure everyone's seen the pictures going around on Twitter of like him in like NBA Live '97 or whatever to now. He played that long. Like that's that kind of stuff
was hitting. Like it was
it's just like a pixel guy shooting a free throw. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else you got going on? Anything? How was your week? Anything eventful?
Well, we're starting to get the gardens going a little bit more.
Nice.
We've had some rain, so the plants are doing well. We haven't gotten to plants yet, but plants are doing well. I didn't pull the trigger on the palm. I know I was talking about it. I didn't pull the trigger yet. I got too caught up in everything going on here because I just had to be so focused on with the rain and not the rain that here I am. But anyway, everything's going pretty well right now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I got a gripe.
Just one.
Just one specific one. So if you guys haven't seen, Netflix rebooted Unsolved Mysteries. Now, obviously, it's called Unsolved Mysteries, so you know going into it, they're not going to be solved, right? But man, I'm getting anxiety over this because I need to know these answers. I'm so spoiled by all the documentaries that come out that you have the answers. Now I got no answers, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Well, and part of it's like, don't they have? You got to look at it, and from the old ones, right?
Yeah.
The original ones. Like, can't you just use like DNA testing and like you're actually like you really can't figure this out now? Like now, you hear about all those stories. A guy gets released from prison after 40 years.
Yeah.
It turns out he's innocent.
Well, this isn't going back to the old ones though.
No, I know. I'm just
but
saying.
But you say they should have done. That could be a show.
That would have been a better show.
You go back to the old
the
cases and figure it out.
That's your first gripe. You want the answers. All right, let's make a show and get the answers.
But the problem was the stories were very well done. It was very compelling, good stuff. But like, I just need the answers. I need to know where these people are, who killed them. There was actually an episode about UFOs. What happened?
Yeah.
Like, I need to know these things.
Well, we have not gotten into too many UFO stories.
I mean, we could do a whole separate, not episode, like a full podcast,
probably
just
could.
on UFOs.
Probably could, but I mean, I know what happened to them. They're still there. Or are they in the shallow? Or are they in the shallow Earth, the hollow Earth? With the
I'm not a big
civilization
fan of
inside?
the hollow Earth theory.
No?
In Antarctica, you gotta like go in there. I know.
Yeah,
I know some dude like flew over and said he saw it, but I don't buy that.
Twice. He went twice though. Wasn't a fluke.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, I agree. Have not watched the reboot.
Okay. I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, and I think that's the issue is that now it's changed because originally that was a cool concept when nobody was doing that kind of a type of show.
Yeah.
Now everyone, to your point, is like, okay, well, here's what happened in the end.
Yep.
Whether it's making a murderer or like any of those things.
Yeah, it's an unlimited amount of Netflix documentaries.
Tiger King, we know what happened.
R.I.P.
I'm not gonna watch it. I'm curious to see if you change your mind. I guess maybe
No.
you convince me to watch
I'll
it.
change my mind if they come out with like season 2 is the answers.
Right. Well, which is what they should have done anyways with the reboot.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right. I haven't watched anything right now. I've been like done with everything that I have, so I'm in a lull right now.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm looking for more stuff. But
That's what we were in a lull, and my wife and I were in a lull with that same thing. But we went through that and flew through it real quick. And now we're back in the same place we were.
See, it was funny. I was just asked. We had a visit this weekend for my wife's uncle. And
Okay.
He asked me, he said, "Are you going to watch these baseball games?" And it was funny because, like, for somebody that isn't familiar with day to day anything that we do, it's a weird question. But I was like, and knowing me, because I'm not necessarily a baseball guy, but now we're talking about there's sports that are going to be back that you can watch. So the question is, am I going to watch? And then I had to think about it. I'm like, am I going to watch these games? And I was like, I guess for like work, I mean, I have to.
I hope the answer is yes. I'm telling you, I'm looking at my phone right now because it's 5:45. Phillies inter-squad first streaming game is at 6. I'm definitely going home and watching that. A scrimmage. I just need baseball. It's the summer. I need it.
Well, you're a loser, is actually what
That's
it is.
fine. I'm the guy, and maybe there's people out there that can relate. I'm the guy who works in minor league baseball, comes in at 9 a.m., works the full game, you leave at 11, and then I go home and I'll catch the Dodgers game, or whatever games on MLB Network, and watch out for a little bit.
That's why I'm half an Angels fan. Every 2-3 years, I'll become an Angels
Big
fan.
Trout guy, yeah.
And it's the only game you can watch.
Yeah.
Not that you'd want to watch the Pirates, but you can.
No, but you go
and
home.
how about we got shredded, by the way, because we don't talk about Pittsburgh enough. And
Who
I
shredded us?
agree. I totally agree. We received an email from one of our listeners that said we need to talk more about Pittsburgh, and I totally agree. We don't talk enough about because they're. I have a theory.
We talked about them.
It's not a theory.
We talked about with Ben. He went to school in Pittsburgh.
Not enough. I didn't say we didn't talk about it.
We don't need to talk about him every week. It's a small little blip.
No, the majority of our podcast should be about Pittsburgh. But my theory, and it's not a theory, it's actually a fact, that you can trace the greatness of all sports either to Pittsburgh or of Italian-American descent. Either one. It's the Lombardi Trophy, Pittsburgh in hockey. You got like all the quarterbacks in the NFL, all the greatest quarterbacks all came from Pittsburgh. All of them.
All the great ones.
All of them did.
Is there even one in the NFL currently?
I don't know.
Matt Ryan's from Philly.
Is he really from Philly?
Yep.
I don't know why. Because he went to Boston College.
Saquon's from Whitehall.
So what?
I'm telling you right now, Pittsburgh's not looking so hot.
No, I'm just telling you what.
Steelers are down. Pirates are down, like always.
Hall of Fame. Well, the Pirates are different. With the salary cap, because look at the Pens. Now, with the salary cap instituted, they're the best hockey team in the NHL since that happened. And it is not close.
Okay.
5 Stanley Cups.
I'll take your word for that because I don't know anything about hockey. So.
Yeah, and you can look it up. It's fine. It's not close. They're just so much better run. And you have to admit the Steelers are so well run.
They are.
They are. So I would love to think that the Pirates with the salary cap would be legitimate contenders every year, but it's hard to imagine.
I don't think they're going to spend any money.
It's really hard to imagine.
We're talking about the team that said we're done with Andrew McCutcheon.
Listen, you're talking about the team that had a $43 million payroll, which is the same payroll they had 15 years before, and didn't do anything in the interim either. They never built anyway.
They're basically the Marlins with a nicer ballpark.
They do have a nicer ballpark. Some would argue in a nicer location as well. Because I think most people prefer to live in Pittsburgh than Miami.
I would not prefer that. You'd be insane to prefer that.
I think most people would. If you really consider, cost of living, just the great people. You can't find better people.
I'm not on board with this one.
We'll take a whole episode sometime in the future and we'll talk about only Pittsburgh and how its influence in all sports. We'll do that later.
Sure. All right. Well, anyway.
Did you watch UFC?
No.
I didn't either.
Okay, yeah.
Asked this.
You're the UFC guy.
Well, we asked this, and it's like, are we going to watch? And then, so, unanimous, the prelims were better than main card, which has happened a lot, but then people were very disappointed. I think just now, people are starting to get a little more fed up with having to pay to watch a sporting event. Like, for one. Like,
I'm not paying to watch UFC.
Well, right, but forever, people were paying to watch the boxing match, and then they're paying to watch UFC, and then it became like, you have to go to certain places. But now, less and less places offer that. You can't find as many to go see because it's so expensive.
It's too expensive. You don't want to pay that.
And then you have like a minimum you have to like order in foods. It's like I'm going to a concert in Vegas. I have to order a minimum to get at the table.
Here's the problem I had with it, and I was talking to Cody on our staff about this because I was unaware. So I assumed Fight Island. I thought it was going to be outside, like on a beach. And I saw the promo videos was like on the beach, but apparently they were inside.
Yeah. And
wherever they were, like Barbados or whatever. Is that where it was?
It was like Abu Dhabi or something.
Oh, Abu Dhabi, yeah. So, but I wanted it like a themed thing, like where you walk out, like, and you're at the beach and you got like tiki torches. I wanted like something cool. They could have really themed it out, made it cool. Yeah. And then it was just in a building. But like, I don't know, even that wouldn't have done it for me, but it would have been cool.
It has to be in a building. So like,
I get it if it rains or whatever.
Yeah, if you're a fan of it all, that would never be the case. But then also it's like, well, it's Fight Island. How can you not theme
it's in the inside then?
But as you promote it, like we promote Top Gun night, you're not going to walk in and be on an aircraft carrier.
No, but they're the UFC.
I'm
just asking, like, make the entranceway have some sand around it and have some.
No one's going in the entrance. Oh, like entrance to the ring?
Yeah. Like make it like
we got sponsors.
Make it like old wrestling used to do that back in the day.
Here we go.
Bash at the beach. They used to have it everywhere.
It's not a real sport.
If they use
more,
it's
very different.
If UFC made more things like WWE does and AEW,
they'll lose all their fans.
No, they would make money. They'd make more money.
They make money.
They don't make as much money.
They will. They're not as old.
UFC's old. UFC started in the early 90s. Well, wrestling's like hundreds of years old. They've been wrestling forever.
Okay.
But I'm saying,
I'm talking about your fake wrestling.
In the current day, it makes way more money than UFC.
I can't. This is a whole nother that you're even a wrestling fan.
I'm not comparing.
And I can't believe wrestling fans exist.
I'm not comparing the two. It's an entertainment versus a sport. Wrestling's not a sport, but I'm saying if they took some of the things that wrestling did and took that in the UFC, it'd be better. They'd be more ratings. They'd be promoting their stars better.
It's an actual sport. You just can't.
Yes, you can.
Look, I don't even know what you're even talking about now.
Just simple things like
theme out, put sand on the ground,
theme out an event, make it, and not just call it UFC 189. Like that's so stupid. It's not. They don't even try. There's no imagination.
It's Super Bowl 50, Super Bowl 54.
It's the NFL, and but the NFL is don't even. NFL does whatever they want. It's the Super Bowl. At least they call it the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're just calling it UFC 100.
Well, it's actually the names of the fighters. It'd be like whoever the headliner would be. Like
and
whenever it's the number,
there are no names.
But tell me what number it is, and then you say it's UFC McGregor.
Sure, but right now there are no names. UFC's got nothing going for them.
Maybe. I mean, it's less. I'll give you that. The fact that I didn't watch it kind of sums it up.
Yeah, and you're a huge UFC fan.
I'm apparently a former UFC fan.
Whoa.
I agree. It was the weird promo. It was a weird promo leading in, and they didn't do it quite right. And I think this is one of those opportunities they should have taken, like we talked about in the previous episode, like lacrosse. Maybe mic up the guy. And you can't mic up the guy in this sport or whatever, but like I don't know, do anything different. Like put a different camera angle you normally wouldn't, or like something like that to make the visual experience better. Since that's the only thing you have. There's no live fans, and it's silent, which is weird.
We talked about that before. UFC is super weird with no fans.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess maybe I'll watch the next one. We need another superstar, basically. That's pretty much all it's going to save it now.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's your plant situation?
My plant hasn't really changed. I know my palm, I noticed before I came over here, I was misting them a little bit in this hot sun. Growing another big leaf, which is cool. Hasn't really changed, though. Everything's doing good, no issues. How about you? I know you didn't get the palm, but...
Didn't, yeah. Well, so we just had a guy cut out back, so I'm thinking about just throwing up a whole nother garden. A whole nother garden.
Why not?
Behind the
You
grapes.
got this is the only summer you're ever going to have to do it.
I know, but then that's what I'm saying is then it's all just going to be dead.
Next summer
it's going to be a wasteland. I try to garden so much stuff and it's always dead. I need like the hardy stuff, like just grow radishes or something, but I don't even like radishes, so can't do it.
I wonder what Jordan's plant like. I mean, so we talked to Lowell. Lowell's about our age, about 30, right? He had some plants. Ben, a little bit older and always on the road. Now Jordan and Jake too, who hopefully we'll talk to eventually, they're younger. They're like in their early 20s. So I'm intrigued to see what the plant situation will be like with them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a generational thing or not.
Not sure.
Or a regional based thing, or I have no idea. And obviously they're in New York and Ben was in New York, so that's a factor. You just can't have a garden outside.
No, but I think that people that live in New York, I feel like plants are in. I feel like to have a plant and put it up on Instagram and be like, oh, look at me, I got a little plant here.
Could be. Well, we'll find out. Well, I'm curious to see a lot of questions for him. I mean, they're familiar with the minor league scene. They're obviously more familiar with Major League Baseball, and that's predominantly what they're going to cover. But that's how we know them, obviously, through the minor league circuit. But very excited to see what Jordan has to say about a couple of these things going on. I want to ask him about Blackouts is number one.
Yep.
Just like the future, because we talked about already, like, I'm Mr. Anti-Baseball, right? But like, how are you going to fix this thing? I want to see what he thinks. One thing I was thinking too, a question I had for you. I don't think I know the answer to this question. That I've never asked you before. It's never come up for some reason. What was your first job?
Ever?
Yeah.
My first job ever was a dishwasher at Pizza Place back where I grew up, Suvio's, best pizza around.
Okay, so then you got promoted.
So I was dishwasher to delivery guy, yeah.
Okay.
And
so you showed growth early on.
Yeah.
My first job.
100%, yeah.
So my first job was at Arby's.
Okay.
And I was also promoted because I was doing dishes and I had to unload the truck on Sundays. We got paid by the hour, $5.25 an hour at the time was all getting paid.
Over the table?
Yeah. Well, it's Arby's. It's a corporation.
That's not a lot of money. I was making more than that under the table.
Well, if the IRS is listening to this podcast, maybe we should not get into that detail. I don't know if the statute of limitations on getting paid as a dishwasher.
I mean, that was 10 years ago. I'm sure things changed.
Sure, yeah. So I used to do that, and we got paid hourly to unload this truck. So my 1 hour job of unloading the truck, and if Arby's corporate is probably never going to hire me again now. But it took me like 8 hours, a full 8 hours to do that. But I got promoted from there, and then I was able to, I never made it all the way. I wasn't allowed to shave the roast beef. That was a premium job at Arby's. If you got that gig, and honest to God, I went back to the Arby's that I worked at, like one of these Thanksgiving or something. I went back, and the same lady is working the roast beef slicer is when I worked there. And that was like
It's one of those
15
gigs.
years ago.
You don't give it up. If you get it, you don't
Once
give it
you
up.
get it, you can never get up.
Yep.
But I made it all the way to Fry Station then,
Okay.
and then to the drive-thru. And that's as far as I made it. But my question is, do you think that's something we should be asking in interviews? At your first job, whatever horrible job you had, is you showing growth in that job important, or is it not? Because what are the odds we both got promoted?
I think it's important. I can think back. I think I learned a lot working in that, because if you're working at a pizzeria on a Friday night, it's chaos. So I learned a lot of like how to like work on the fly, work in like a high pressure environment, which is like so many things we do now. Like things pop up during a game, like things like that. You have to be able to think quickly and get things done, whether it's like a tarp or whatever, and like stay calm. I feel like a lot of that too, and just customer service, obviously. But I think it really matters a lot. Yeah, if you're able to like, were you a kid that bounced around and had like 7 jobs throughout high school and college, or did you have like where you make your way up and you stay put? Like I think that's something important. Yeah, maybe that's something to look at.
Well, then the follow-up question is, what do you think they would hire you back then? Because I'm going to go with no.
Dude, 100%. I was just talking to the guy that owns it the other day, and he's like,
So you have a fallback plan.
Not necessarily, but we were talking about, I don't even know what we were exactly talking about, but he's like, I'm like, I don't think you can afford me. I'm like, you'd have to put me on that Bobby Bonilla type of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were talking just the other day about that. It's hilarious that you mentioned that.
So on my last day at work at Arby's, one of the things you had to do that I hated doing was working the drive-thru is obviously pretty busy. You get a lot of cash, especially back then. And you had to take all the cash, and then the last thing you had to do is you had to count out the cash and like write it all down or whatever. Then they had to give it to the person to put in a safe overnight and then take it the next day. Well, I knew it was my last day, so what I decided would be a good idea. I never got to make it rain before, and a wise man once told me, "You always make it rain with someone else's money because you don't have to pick it up." So I took all the money out of the drawer, I stood up on the counter, and I made it rain.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
I even brought in like an iPad with like speakers or whatever, or not an iPad, like iPod.
Mm-hmm.
And I played "Make It Rain," which is like actually a fairly new song at that time. And made it rain, and they're like, "You gotta pick that up." And I'm like, "Well, I don't, because I'm not coming back. It's my last day." So I don't think Arby's would take me back.
They're not letting you back. I'm surprised they let you back in at all, even to get food.
Sure. Well, yeah, I didn't try too much after, but. And Ben Hill, by the way, you mentioned, came out with the article on the New York Penn League, which is the one I've been waiting for. And there was some interesting stuff in there, because working at 2 New York Penn League teams, for me, I was excited to see it. But they didn't mention that Mahoning Valley, there was some random, I don't forget what the fact was about that one in particular.
I don't remember.
That's the home of the first Arby's.
But what does that have to do with Scrappers?
Well, Ben knows all the things, like the fact that in Hagerstown they have a spiral staircase, and that's because the person that holds the patent for spiral staircases is in Hagerstown, Maryland.
So you're saying that Mahoning Valley should have an Arby's in the ballpark?
Well, that's actually, that is a good idea.
Guys, if you're listening, if anybody in the Penn League's listening, let them know. We need maybe a beef and cheddar, like a roast beef race. Have different beef and cheddar. I don't know. I don't eat an Arby's, so I don't know what else is there.
Yeah, beef and cheddar. Yeah, with an onion bun. Classic.
Yeah, you got to have some of those guys racing around, get an Arby's in there.
Man, they had a great, remember the, what was it, that promo they had? It was like the peppers. The old Italian grandma, they had the peppers and the oil.
Oh yeah, dude, the logo. Yeah, that was great.
Man, that was one
of their one-off theme nights. Yeah,
that's one where it's so unfortunate. So much credit to them that they did it, but like if a team like Nashville did it, it would have been like it would have been promo
huge,
of the year and all that stuff. Like it should have been.
That's the thing, and obviously a lot of the Penn League teams are in a bad spot now with the possible contraction. But like, man, there's a lot of cool stuff that happens at that level. And it just doesn't get the pub it should get. And it's unfortunate because, I mean, obviously we were competing at State College for as long as we were. There's a lot of cool stuff that you see and you pay more attention to the other Penn League teams. But, like, I mean, so if you're in baseball, if you're anything, take a look at, follow Ben Hill if you know. He'll give you all the promos. But watch those small teams, see what they do. And, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. In worst case, you probably steal some ideas for your team.
100%. We got to start, I think, pretty soon here. We're going to call Jordan. So. Yep. I don't know if you had anything else before we give him a call.
No.
I'm excited for it.
I'm excited, man. I'm a big fan of the barbecue. I've been a fan of Cespedes Family BBQ for years, dating back to when Yoenis made his debut in 2012. So I'm excited to have him on. And
you brought him to the ballpark in State College.
They came to State College. We hung out for a little bit. And then again in Lehigh Valley, too. Yeah. And I want to talk to him about that because these guys are crazy. They started a blog back in 2012, and here they are with almost 100,000 Twitter followers.
They will, and we're having him on, and then they will have it.
And a gig at the Ringer here in 2020. So pretty impressive rise, and they're big baseball guys. So I'm interested to see what they say. But yeah, I'm excited to have them on too. I think it's going to be a good interview.
100%. Well, we'll give him a call now. We'll be right back after the break. And thanks for tuning in with Sold Out Podcast.
Talk to you soon, guys. All right, guys, welcome back. We got a special guest here today. Unfortunately, one half of who we thought we were going to have a special guest. So we got Jordan from the Cespedes Family BBQ. Due to technical difficulties, Jake couldn't join us. So Jake, we'll have to do that two-parter another time and get you back on here. So sorry, man. But we do have Jordan here. So if you guys aren't familiar, Cespedes Family BBQ, one of the best follows on baseball Twitter. They've been doing it for a long time. I think back to 2012, maybe. Obviously, they've been doing podcasts for a long time, and they've been, killing Twitter. They were at Cut 4. Now they're over at the Ringer. So first of all, congratulations on the new spot over there at the Ringer.
Thank you. No, it's been a pretty stellar partnership thus far. We're really excited to continue to be podcasting once the actual baseball is back. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy. We of course the deal with them was in the works to start podcasting with them since before when the regular season was supposed to happen. And we were literally, I think we've already told the story before, but like we were scheduled to announce that we were joining the Ringer Podcast Network the day that baseball shut down on March 12th or whatever that day was in spring training. We the night before we kind of sensed things were kind of heading in the wrong direction in a lot of directions. We're like, okay, we're going to hold off on the announcement. We'll figure it out. Bam, season gets canceled. Bam, we're like, okay, let's slow down. And then kind of had to reconvene, but it worked out, and it's been a ton of fun so far. So love doing stuff with the Ringer.
Good, that's great.
And I enjoyed a lot. I just finished listening to the episode. You guys just had Ben Hill on, and we just had Ben Hill on.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, you mentioned in your podcast, but he's the guy to go to when you talk about minor league baseball. So that was an awesome episode. Please check it out on their channel and ours as well. But both were phenomenal, and Ben's a great guest always.
Yeah, Ben's the man.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ben is, he's one of a kind. We were so lucky when we worked at Cut 4 and MLB.com to literally share an office with him. And the MiLB folks were a couple floors below us. And whenever we were just like not wanting to do work, we would just go down there and be like, Ben, just like tell me a story. That was basically, there was such a, of course, following his work over the years before we ever got to MLB, like Ben is just A+ human being and a great storyteller. So I'm glad he could tell, as you guys know, like he could tell stories forever. So love that guy.
Nice guy, generally nice guys. That's what we came. Yeah, nicest guy we've ever met from what we came to after we finished the podcast. So
it's crazy. We were trying to ask him questions, and then like we mentioned, we're trying to keep this in like a certain time frame, and he has unlimited stories. And so his article just came out on the New York Penn League, and I worked in Aberdeen, and he was telling the story of the first pitch there, and I know where that plate is. He had an image of it. And he told a story that I'd never even heard before. And I'm like, I worked there. I saw that thing how many times, and I never even knew that occurred. So, he's got unlimited knowledge. It's crazy.
That's the thing, man. It's just, and the ability, whenever we ask him, like, oh, what's the best park? And he gets these questions, like, the fact that he is able to pull from, like, it's hard for us. Like, we've been all over. We've been to, probably over 50 or 60 minor league parks. And, like, there are things you forget so easily. I can only imagine, he's forgotten more than we'll ever know, So... But yeah, Ben's the best. Cannot recommend his work, and definitely check out his interview with you guys and on our podcast too.
Yeah. So for everybody that might not know your name, where that comes from, obviously we had the great legendary workout video of Yoenis Cespedes at the end, showing him at the barbecue with the pig. Now, funny thing is, I know you and Jake, obviously huge Yoenis guys. I am also obsessed with Cespedes. Have been. I remember being in college, waking up to watch when they played that weird before the regular season Japan game versus the Mariners.
That was his first. He hit his first major league home run in Japan.
Yeah, so I remember waking up at like 3 a.m. in college to watch that. So I was right there with you guys. But, you know, can you ever have imagined back in 2012, like you guys taking off like this? Like you just made a parody account, and now here you are 8 years later at the Ringer with a pot. Like, could you ever imagine?
No, there's like so many levels of it that are still hard to really fathom. And like, you know, his career too has weirdly taken us in a lot of bizarre places, right? Like, of course, he's on a very popular, successful Oakland team, but he's never the face of the A's, right? He's one of their best players, and they have some near postseason runs. But then he gets traded, and you know, the 2 months in Boston were basically a disaster. But he wasn't. They were bad. It didn't matter. So then he goes to Detroit and like gets traded to Detroit, and Detroit was fun, but we knew that was going to be short lived. And then since then, like 2015 was just a whirlwind. And I remember the day he got traded to the Mets in 15. We knew he was going to get moved that day. I think we were thinking maybe the Angels made a little more sense, but when it was the Mets, we were like, shit, like this could be. I don't know how this is going to go. Like this is, you know, the Mets are such a fascinating, bizarre fan base and team and history, and like at the time we were like, look, I mean, it's great, he's on a bigger team and a bigger stage, but we had no idea what we were in for. And like the extent to which we've been kind of steeped in Mets culture over the last 5 years has really been fascinating, especially as he both, you know, carried them to the World Series and then has now been injured for a year and a half and now is back and everybody still loves him, but some people think he's overpaid. Like there's so many levels of it that are so crazy. So he himself as a baseball player has taken us in so many different directions, and obviously we've been fortunate enough to make a lot of things happen personally, professionally, in the baseball space as well.
So it's an amazing story, as Erik just brought up and you nicely summarized. And what the original plan was, so if you've ever heard an episode we've done before, I am not the baseball guy. Erik's the baseball guy, and then we talk to baseball people, or at least some baseball people so far. So you're a baseball guy, and you just basically made a point that we talked about in the previous podcast where, you know, I'm sitting here arguing that baseball needs to do more to capitalize on the personalities they have, the players they have, and grow the brand that way. Because sure, there's the whole conversation of the foothold they have with all the teams, and it's just so widespread, it's the pastime, whatever, right? But baseball's not number one. There's no superstar that's like at a level of a superstar of any other sports. And so my question, while I have, and it was going to be 3 baseball guys, so I feel a little better about my point now. But my question is, what are you going to do? Like Jordan, you personally, no. What are baseball people going to do to bring baseball back to number one? Like, how can that be achieved at this point?
Yeah, man, it's hard. And obviously we're talking about it in an extremely bizarre context where everything's been affected by the pandemic. So it's like, it's setting every sport back in a variety of ways. So how we come out of this and when we maybe resume normalcy in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, whatever, who knows how different it's going to look for a variety of reasons. But weirdly putting that aside, I mean, trying to get baseball back to number one, like, for me, it's almost more important right now to be catering to the fans that are still so passionate. And I'm almost more worried and more focused on keeping fans around and proving to people my age especially and you know, my generation that like baseball's still cool and there's reasons to follow this sport that I know has been passed by. I mean, football's been ahead of it for a while, but basketball is the one too that's really taken off over the last decade or so, to the point where it's like, right, is it why would kids want to be a baseball fan, right? And so for me, like, I still believe in everything that we do is geared towards like not just the personalities of the players, but like the personality of the sport itself, which does exist. And I think MLB has done a better job. And obviously we got an inside look at it when we worked there for a couple of years, and they are doing a lot of things in the right direction. And there are also things that they definitely need to do way, way, way better. The thing I always come back to, and I talked about this a little bit on the Minor League podcast, but I just have faith in this generation of players, the next generation of players. I've told the story a couple times now, but I just really find it resonant is, you know, so many players now, the current players who are maybe veterans, they all say, oh, who's your favorite player growing up? Derek Jeter, Derek Jeter, Derek Jeter, Derek Jeter. I get it. Jeter's awesome. He won a lot. He's stressed up. He's totally get it. But Jeter's not, like, he's not going to, he was very popular and he was very successful and he won a lot of World Series and that was good for the sport and good whatever. But like personality-wise, he's not going to draw anybody in. So what makes me excited now is when I hear guys that were just drafted last month saying, yeah, I grew up or watching, my favorite player is Ronald Acuna. My favorite player is Francisco Lindor. My favorite player is Juan Soto. My favorite player is Alex Bregman or whatever, like guys that are showing things. And like when the next generation, when these high school players and these middle school players, little leaguers, they're looking up and they're saying, I love that guy who's going crazy. That's a huge difference. And I think we will see that carried out in the way that not only the younger players continue to play, because when Francisco Lindor is the leader in the clubhouse, now everybody wants to play like Francisco Lindor. And that makes a huge difference. And those are the kind of things that I have faith will make a difference and keep younger fans around and bring in younger fans to the sport.
Yeah, the swag level has been rising over the last 5 years or so. I think Acuna is definitely leading the way with that, Lindor, those type of guys. But like you said, there's a ton of young guys that are they're a lot of fun. They're having more fun, and they're just embracing it. And now we just need Major League Baseball to embrace them. And I think they've done some cool stuff, like some of the cool hype videos they've done on Instagram and TikTok have been pretty cool so far, which I was pretty shocked. Like we talk about all the time, like, whoa, baseball did a cool thing. Like, I can't believe it. So that's been good to see. But, I think that's a step in the right direction, though, is, that next generation needs to step up and just continue the trend of having fun and just being swaggy, really, honestly.
Well, being a non-baseball guy, though, I hear what you guys are saying, but I don't know if I believe it. Because, again, the point, what you said in the middle of it was baseball needs to embrace those guys because it's been this way forever. There's been cool guys for a while.
Right.
Like, who was cooler than Ken Griffey Jr.? And it's still developed this, like, well, nobody knows. Now the best players, Trout or, like, Bryce. Like, everyone wants to be like Mike. Is anyone out there saying they want to be like Mike Trout? No, nobody is.
No.
So I'm still nervous. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
No, that's totally fair. And again, like, I just think that, like, thinking, like, how do we catch back up to football and basketball? Like, we gotta figure a lot of our own stuff out first, and let's make sure we are moving as a sport in the right direction before worrying about catching any other sports. Because obviously, any sport wants to be number one. Any sport wants to be the most popular thing. And another thing that I think is so important that baseball does have over other sports, and I know basketball has become a very international game too, but like baseball has to celebrate the diversity that it has in its sport. It has to capitalize on the fact that you have a 30%. Latin player population, and obviously there's been a lot of conversations recently, justifiably so, how we can get more black players in baseball. That's going to be very, very important. But we're getting more players coming over from Korea, coming over from Japan, coming over from, there's some small countries in South America that are coming, and like, it is a global sport. It can be a global sport, and that's another thing that should definitely be capitalized on more. I mean, the World Baseball Classic, of the many things that have been canceled or pushed back, that's an event that's just one of a kind, and I really wish we could have that again, because that's unrivaled. And like, sure, you could say the basketball and the Olympics, but who really cares about that? Like, honestly, right? Like, we know the U.S. is going to win, and it's just not the same kind of thing. Whereas, like, the World Baseball Classic can be such a special event, and those are the kind of things that baseball does have over the other sports that it should be able to capitalize on more.
And you know what's crazy is you say that, and you're 100% right, but I'm not sure that's like the public persona of baseball, because everyone says basketball is international, but like, name the international guys. There aren't really that many. There was a spree where in the first round there was like a Croatian taken, or there was like whoever, but I mean, there really hasn't been. There's been like 2 Italians, a couple French.
I think it's more the influence. Like, they're huge in China, obviously, huge in like Italy and Spain. And I don't know if baseball is huge in other countries. There are countries that basketball's not big in, the DR, Puerto Rico.
That's the problem.
Yeah. What do you think about, and we'll go off this quick, did you see a while back, Bryce had said on, I think it was on the Barstool podcast with Carabas, about the same thing, but really getting everybody, like, shutting down the season, having everyone go to the Olympics, and he was like, imagine that Trout versus Ohtani battle, U.S. versus Japan, things like that. What do you think about that?
Look, man, I mean, in a perfect world, he's totally right, and maybe there is a version in a way that we can do that. I know that I'm pretty sure in Japan, they do shut it down. They do stop their season for 2 weeks and go because baseball, and my goodness, we did a podcast recently about the Koshan High School Baseball Tournament, the Japanese high school baseball tournament, which is one of a kind thing, and baseball in Japan, man, that is the real deal. Like, that, you want to talk about passion for a sport, Like, that is a level that has surpassed us even to a degree, which sounds insane. But, like, man, you watch that, it's hard to think of elsewhere. And they think about that all the way up to the top, all the way up to the international competition. So, of course, I would love to see that. But, you know, as with anything, unfortunately, if you're the Phillies and your escape price are for $330 million, it's going to be tough to let them go play for 2 weeks, you know, across the world. Like,
Yeah.
But listen, man, obviously the first step is pausing the season, you know. So that would at least be one challenge to get around. But of course, but that's a great idea. He's totally spot on.
Yeah, I have my experience with the Cal Ripken World Series, and so and that's another way that it's so international as well, from the Little League World Series, and that's through the Babe Ruth League. But I remember whenever those kids would get off the bus, it would be different. Like Australia would be there, you know, Canada would be there. But when the Japanese kids got off the bus, it was unbelievable. Like, they would take the infield and hitting, fielding, everything. I'm like, they're robots. They're insane, and it would kill everybody. It was a joke.
And I gotta say, man, like, Williamsport, we said this before, Williamsport is, and I know you just said you did Babe Ruth League, but Williamsport's like still my favorite event that we've gotten to do over the last few years. Like, it is, I would take a week in Williamsport over basically any regular season baseball under any context. I know we talked about, I'd rather see minors than majors, but the Little League World Series, the atmosphere there, not just the international, the diversity that's there, but just like the kind of love for baseball is unmatched. So that's exactly the kind of energy we need to have at the major league level.
I wanted to ask you a question. So I know we just checked out the Ben Hill episode you guys did, and you guys talked a lot about your love for minor league baseball and how a lot of times, well, I know you talked about breaking in and getting a picture with Bryce. Talked about the situation with Aaron Judge trying to get an interview and Jake loses his wallet, which is a great story. But you mentioned how you could reach out to most minor league teams and they were more than happy to have you guys come out. So what I wanted to ask is, what was the most ridiculous thing where you were like, I cannot believe we're getting this access or they're letting us do this? Was there ever a team or a situation where you're like, this is ridiculous?
Well, Erik, you obviously have your own story, but I guess we didn't mention our Lehigh. Did we mention our Lehigh stop?
Not during the Ben episode, I don't think.
I don't know if we did during the Ben episode. I mean, again, there was so much. Like, our outline for that episode had so much stuff that did not make it. like we were so many shows that didn't make it. One that comes to mind, I mean, Lehigh, where we did the home run derby with Kingery and Hoskins.
Yeah.
Was awesome. Doing that on the field was amazing. Weirdly, okay, one, I know this is like the opposite of what you're asking, because this is actually something we got to do on a major league field, but it was so absurd, and I was just thinking about it yesterday, so I wanted to share it. The craziest thing I would say we got to do in Cut 4 was we did Matt Davidson, who, just up and down guy. He's with the White Sox, he was with the Rangers, now he's with the Reds. Matt Davidson, when he was kind of doing stuff with the White Sox a couple years ago, we found out about this thing he would do called earthing, where he would, before games, as kind of like a meditation thing, he would go barefoot in the outfield grass and just walk around and just feel the nature of, Major League outfield grass, as absurd as that sounds. And we got to do that with him in Yankee Stadium, which is
wow.
kind of the antithesis of everything we talked about on the podcast, which is that there's no freaking way they'd ever let you do that. But for some reason that day, especially since it was a random dude on the White Sox, they were like, sure. So anyway, Matt Davidson did a home run in the inter-squad game with the Reds. I was like, holy shit, I've been, shoeless with that guy in Yankee Stadium outfield.
That's so cool. What a crazy thing.
But a minor league one was Jackson, Tennessee. Home of the Generals. I guess they don't. I think they still exist, right? Yeah, they're still. They've bounced around affiliations a couple times, but this was one of our trips, and that was a day where in one day, not only did we talk to 5 major leaguers, we talked to Dansby Swanson, who had recently been traded to the Braves, who had an off day. So we talked to Dansby, we talked to Ozzie Albies, we talked to Willians Astudillo when he was with the Braves before he was a meme. We talked to Ryan Yarbrough, who was charting behind home plate, is now with the Rays. He was with the Mariners at the time. And then Andrew Moore, who's also a Mariners pitcher, was with them. But the thing that and Tyler O'Neill, another one, who's now with the Cardinals. But the thing I remember about that was they let us, we did a bunch of, stupid normal videos with them and interviews and whatnot. But they let Jake, this is something that Jake should be on the podcast to tell the story of, put on one of the chicken suits, which I don't know what mascot or in between innings thing it was, and drive one of the little cars that they have
That's
for
awesome.
the in between race. And we were before the game. This is like while BP is still happening, and we're like doing some sort of video. I literally don't even remember why we were doing this, but Jake full chicken suit during BP driving like on the field, and I was like, this is. I don't know why any of this is being allowed.
That's minor league baseball, man.
Yeah,
That's
I
what's
know.
funny.
I gotta find that video. I'll send that to you guys.
You guys are saying that, and it's like two different worlds, because then we hear these things, and then we're like, they think that's crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just
we would do
normal.
that.
So us, we're not
Exactly.
even
No,
batting an eye at
100%.
it.
100%.
And
We're
if you guys just knew,
preaching to the
like,
choir.
Yeah, like if everyone in your position or any media just knew, like, hey, show up and to just ask anything, like ask anything at all, and like we train our guys on a regular basis to be like, always just do it, and if you get in trouble, like I'll handle it for you, like I'll deal with it. And so like imagine the things if everyone knew that.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're saying it in public, maybe they will, but. Yeah, that's an awesome experience. But what's funny too, when you were talking about the grass and earthing, the only thing I can think of, because we have this all the time, so we do scout nights and we do like, I mean, the field is like so sacred. I mean, even if it's Yankee Stadium is one thing, right? But then like even for us, people they don't know the difference. They're like it's, but then we're there whenever no one else is in the ballpark. Like to me, a full stadium is the minority.
Yeah.
In terms of time that I'm there, obviously the majority when we have games, of course.
Of course, yes.
I look at that field and I'm just watching them spray things, paint it, dump like huge vats that say like "don't touch," right, all over this stuff, and then bugs that used to be there are just gone. And then people just get down there for scout night. The first thing they do is just lay in it and like put their face in the grass, and I'm like, oh my god, don't stop doing that immediately. There should be a disclaimer. But
It is a bizarre juxtaposition because, like, right, like a baseball field, like a professional baseball field, obviously at the major league level, it's getting taken care of to a whole other level. But even in AAA, like, it's a damn nice field, and like that's one of the beauties of getting to do our job is getting to the field early and getting there when there is no one on the field, right? Or even staying late after the game and seeing, we've seen this at the major and minor league level. You stay late enough, and the lights go out, and you're just looking at kind of a weird, like, lightly dim field, and like that's a beautiful thing, like, not to get too cheesy about it, but like, and so all the different things that can happen, especially at the minor league level, when you see all this, you talk to scout night, you talk about like, I think about the, the tennis ball games after the game,
Oh yeah,
the hula hoops, like stuff like that. Like, it's so weird. You take so much, care of it, but then it's also just like go crazy. So it's fascinating.
What's nuts is, one thing we never got to address this year, you mentioned throwing tennis balls on the field. There's a lot of changes that happen in baseball that everyone kind of forgot about with all this stuff, like nets going all the way to the outfield. So it's not as easy to throw a tennis ball on the field now. There's only going to be more now because you're going to take safety precautions for players and things like that. You wonder the impact that that's going to have for you guys in terms of, access. You're seeing like free waj and that kind of stuff. What are your guys' takes on, like, how important is that media coverage that you should be in there versus another staff personnel or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and also like thinking about it a lot right now, as and we just had a podcast that went on today with Lindsay Adler, the Athletic, talking about covering the Yankees when she's so good at what she does because she gets to do one-on-ones, pull a guy aside, ask him a question that you're not asking in a scrum, right? That's where the best journalism comes from. It's not from when there's 50 people around the manager and they say, hey, like, how's so-and-so's arm? And then he says, he's fine. Like, that's not interesting, right? It's when you can get them separately. Now, for what we've been doing for now, 80 years is developing the relationships with the guys off the field to the point where, we did 100 or whatever podcasts. And even now, like, before we got to MLB, everything we did was through the DMs, right? Through Twitter messages, through Instagram, whatever, to the point where like people knew who we were or players knew who we were. It's like reach out to them directly, because if you try to go through team PR, it's a nightmare at the major league level, right? Minor league level, it's a lot easier, a lot more relaxed. That's what we did the whole freaking podcast about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's still about kind of establishing those relationships with the players where, and especially at the minor league level, when we first talked to Rhys Hoskins, when he was with Reading, and no one really cared about him, like, that means that when he's in the big leagues and hitting 10 homers in his first 20 games, like, he's going to talk to us, right? There's suddenly 100 reporters that want to talk to Rhys Hoskins because they're like, who's this guy in the Phillies hitting a bunch of homers? But he's like, oh, no, I want to talk to the guys that did this stupid video with me in Reading. And so that's why, like, and again, like, personally and professionally, like, the minor league experience is so important. And, like, that's been something that I've been sad we haven't been able to do more since we graduated from school, since we stopped doing the road trip, since we moved to New York City. Like, we can't develop those relationships as easily. Sure, we can through social media, but it's just not the same thing. So it is so important. Players players get inundated with a lot of crap that they don't need and reporting that is not necessary. And so the less of that is probably fine, but access is important if you want to be able to tell the stories to the players, because you can't always count on them to be putting out and sharing things on their own.
Yeah, I think that kind of ties into a lot of what we talk about. So a lot of what we talk about on the podcast is sports business, but what you're saying is essentially building the relationship. You're getting to know these guys when they're coming up. You're getting their trust to become, friends with them, and then they, throw it back your way when they make it, which is cool. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up, but I got two things for you. One, I think we need to get you and Jake out to Lehigh Valley next year and put you through the whole ringer of, pun intended, for promo from start to finish. You talk about Jake dressing as a chicken. We need to get you guys out and do the whole thing, start to finish, pregame, postgame, everything.
Wait a minute. Why don't we take it a step further? What if we had them come up with their own promotional night that they want to do?
Oh.
They're going to pitch us 3 nights. We'll pick the night. We'll put on the night.
We'll sell
put on
it.
our promo
We'll do
schedule.
everything.
We'll sell it.
We'll sell it out for you.
You're going to be the on-field host, and you're going to have to do the whole night.
This is the thing. I'm so conflicted because, that sounds amazing, and obviously we will 1,000% come to Lehigh Valley and do whatever the hell you guys want. But that being said, as insane as this sounds, I would almost feel so obnoxious if we took over an entire minor league baseball game. This is another thing we got to do last year. One of the last videos we did at Cut 4 was we got to be the ball boys in Staten Island.
That's great.
For a whole game in Staten Island. And even that, we were actually doing a job. And yeah, we had GoPros and whatever, but even that, I was I don't want to embarrass myself. I also don't want to draw attention, right? Even though our job is to, talk and ask people to listen to us. But seriously, right? So all that said, totally down to come to Lehigh Valley, do anything. We have not, this is just an obnoxious plea for something. We have not done a minor league first pitch yet, which is something that is kind of sad and frustrating.
Can we claim you? I think you need to come here and be the first one. Yeah.
So we talked about Huntsville on our on the podcast. Huntsville, we were supposed to do it in Huntsville, and it got rained out. Oh. So we had an opportunity there, but it didn't happen. So that is one thing that I'd certainly love to do. But yeah, promos, oh my goodness, all that stuff. I love seeing every level of the minor league stuff, and even at Lehigh which is one of the premier AAA parks. It's still the minors, and I love that. So. Trust me, man. You don't gotta beg us to come out, and it's not that far too. So we'll make it happen.
We're not begging you. We're putting you to work, man.
Yeah, please,
this
seriously.
Be a good
Again,
promotion because
absolutely. We'll have to think about that. I guess we have a lot of time to come up with something crazy, so we'll have to work on that.
Yeah, you got about a year, so you should be all right.
And you can't mess up a first pitch. I've actually witnessed. That's maybe a reoccurring segment we should do. What's the first? We talked about the worst thing you do in baseball, but what's the worst first pitch? Because I've seen a guy actually pee his pants while throwing a first pitch. I saw a guy jump into a trash can throwing a first pitch. Saw somebody throw it over the backstop. All 3 of those was the same guy, by the way, which is amazing. There's been some just amazing things that happen. Because, we let anybody throw it out, really.
Yeah, literally anyone.
Right.
Mascots of hilarious thing. Mascots so big they can't even throw a ball, from anything you can imagine.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to. I know Jake. He's always chirping that he's still an athlete. He can get out there and play. Maybe we'll just put him deep in the hole at short and have his first pitch be over to first. See if he can still make the throw.
There we go.
Oh man. Well, he's still 4 months off of Tommy John right now. 5 months off of Tommy John. So he got Tommy John surgery.
By next year.
Yeah, that's true. Next year, again, his rehab kind of set back because unlike when you're Noah Syndergaard and it's your job, his rehab is not exactly being prioritized. So I don't know when he's going to be ready to throw again, but I still love that idea.
All right, last question here. We asked this to all of our guests, and on the podcast, we're all about plants. So want to know what's your spot looking like? Do you have any plants? Do you have a favorite plant? What do we got going on?
Wow, plants.
Yeah, we're big on plants. So tropical plants, gardens, everything in between.
This is a fascinating question. So I am so underqualified to answer this, but since you're totally catching me off guard here, fortunately, I have been staying with my girlfriend the last couple of weeks, and we do have some pretty serious, foliage. Can we say foliage? Is that the word we want to go with?
Yeah, sure.
But I don't know what any of it is. So I'm going to try to get her attention here to tell me. They're asking me what plants we have here in the apartment. So where?
Background specific?
Well, no, just like anything. So you want to bring one over?
I mean, I can.
Okay, all right. Because I don't know. I'm curious. Can you guys tell me what's the big deal with the plants?
Well,
We just love plants.
there's a couple things. So he
Here,
is
just bring
more
it
of
over.
like.
What is this?
Parlor palm.
This is a parlor palm.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay.
I like
Parlor
that.
palm. All right, that's good. Do we have another one that we want to show
Just so
off?
you guys are aware, we got Jordan on camera here, so we're able to actually see the plants here on,
Yeah,
on
parlor
video.
palm.
These came
It's
from
well
a friend.
potted.
Okay, these came from. What are these?
That's a peace lily, I think.
This is a
Oh.
peace lily.
Oh, Pete, now you're talking.
Big
Peace lily.
fan.
Now,
Okay.
now have I really come to play?
Yeah, I think this is the best one yet, I
The
think.
plant that is actually like nice.
Yeah.
that I
The
like
good
is
plant.
not doing very
Oh, my girlfriend's saying that the plant that she likes the most is actually not doing so well right
Bring it
now.
over. We'll fix it. Come on. Bring
Oh,
it
got
over
too
here.
dry because of the AC. Well, you know,
Oh.
that sounds like an excuse, but
You gotta look out for
It's a
drafts.
pinstripe calathea.
pinstripe calathea, I'm hearing.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
there you
Not
go. I
familiar
mean,
with
look,
that at all.
again, I would have no answer if she was not here, but there you go.
Well, that's funny
Drop
because
some
that's the
plant knowledge on you.
same answer that Ben Hill gave. He basically said he's never even like knew plants existed until now his girlfriend moved in with him, and he's now discovering that there are plants and he has them in his house.
I think he actually said he thought mint was like a mythical plant, and he didn't
Yeah.
realize you could just buy mint. And so now he has a mint plant.
That's incredible. Anything that makes me anything more like Ben Hill is making me happy. So that's
Yeah,
great.
so I think that's
it.
pretty good setup. Yeah.
I like the peace lily a lot. So NASA has a list of plants that filter the air the best in order, which is important because in space you need air, obviously, right?
Definitely.
So the ZZ plant is number one, and that's what I strongly recommend getting. It's also very easy to take care of and it looks cool. But peace lily is number two. So that's
He's
why
like,
when
no,
you-
so this is what number 2 in what's the category?
and it actually filters the air next to the ZZ plant better than any other plant in the world. So
Well, why do you think I have it? I mean, come
Yeah,
on, you
exactly.
think-
You're breathing high quality air.
exactly, that's what's led
Come
to
on.
your success. is
Give me
you've
some
been
more credit.
breathing better air. So
That's great. That's it.
Okay.
That's huge. Wow. Now I feel like this is good. Now that I know that, now I'll like eat a little worse because
yeah,
it's like, well, this
can
plant
afford-
is making up for it.
start smoking, just
Yeah,
everything.
whatever you got to do. A couple more beers here and there, whatever. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. I wish we could have got both of you on, but obviously, I think we're gonna try to get Jake on here in the future to make up for that.
Absolutely.
But
We mentioned too, he's wearing. We felt extra bad
I
because
know.
he's wearing a John hat.
he's wearing a John hat.
specifically for the podcast. And did you know my colleague here was, and I'll give a little credit where credit's
Oh,
due,
man.
two things. So one, first of all, the entire concept was stolen because Altoona came out with the Yinzers
Yes.
first, which to me was probably maybe the greatest promotion of all time.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, what's regional to us? What makes sense? And then my colleague here had the idea, well, John is a thing.
John is a thing in
And now
Philly.
look what it is.
Yeah.
It's become a huge promotion for us and I believe our top selling merch promotion of all time.
I believe, yeah, biggest merch, even more than the bacon hat. Yeah.
More than the bacon hat. I was gonna say, dude, you set the bar pretty high originally, right?
Cheesesteaks,
dude,
bigger than
that's
cheesesteaks.
awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know. That's a serious throw that on the resume. My goodness.
I'm gonna write this day down. Brian gave me credit on air. That's pretty wild.
Well, I gave
so.
Altoona credit first. And I said you
Yes,
stole
that's
it.
fair. They deserve it. Altuna's been doing it
it's
for a
on the
long
record.
time.
Yeah.
But dude, before we wrap up, why don't you tell us where they can follow you, where the podcast is, everything like that.
Yeah, no. Cespedes BBQ on Twitter and Instagram. We're much more active on Twitter than Instagram, but follow Baseball Barbecue wherever you get your podcasts on the Ringer Podcast Network. Have a lot of good stuff planned as the season approaches. And again, thank you guys for all that you do. Anyone who's ever worked in minor league baseball, we are always thinking of you during the season. So thanks to you guys for having me on, and hopefully you can get Jake and his John hat on in the future.
Appreciate that, man.
Well.
Good luck to you guys headed forward and enjoy the baseball season. I know you got to catch that Mariners stream coming up here. So,
Yes, indeed.
all right, man.
Thanks, Jordan.
Dude, thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Sold Out Podcast. If you're on your favorite podcast platform, please subscribe and drop a rating. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Most importantly, we're not looking for your cash. We just ask that you share this episode with your coworkers and your friends so we know to keep this thing going. Until next time, thanks a lot for listening or watching. We'll see you soon.